Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Threadlings Filmmaking Production Diary. I am your host, Miguel Ortega, and this is my co-host, Tran Ma.
Hey everyone.
Hold on while I adjust my microphone. It's acting weird. So how's everybody doing? Let's see who's here today. Let me set this to be full screen. So we have Ruben.
Ruben's a regular.
He's a regular now. Control. Yo. Dago Kart. How's it going? Thank you guys for coming to this super fun party. So we're talking about the making of an animated film in Unreal Engine, and we've been getting a lot done because we've just been able to focus on this for
the past
few weeks. Yeah. We haven't been teaching because Gnomon is on break, and we've just been on this like 20,000 hours a day. Right, Tran?
Yeah, we've been crunching.
Yeah. So let's look at some of the progress. So all the renders here are low quality. So we've been working on this sequence for a while, and the lighting is going to change, but you'll see some of the progress since last week. The main thing is we have Mayo in these shots now. So this is Cot, and then this is Mayo. We don't have the hair groom on him, so we have this placeholder for now. But you can kind of get an idea of it.
What's he doing? Zor, are you all right? Zor? Mayo.
You let Zord die. The moths are no threat.
All right, so that's what we got so far. So we're missing a shot in between this where we have their reaction as they freak out. And then we cut to the madness here. So the sword is not textured. There's a lot of stuff that's not. You can see like this very low quality render. But overall, I think it's looking pretty cool.
It's also missing the cloth sim.
Yeah, there's no cloth sim on Mayo, so like the cape is not blowing in the, well, not in the wind because there's not necessarily wind, but there's no simulation. But it's pretty cool. There's also a shot missing here. So Mayo looks at this and caught, and they're like, you know, what is going on? The next shot, I'll actually show you because I have it here. And this will kind of show you like how a shot is prepared. So this next shot is going to be all hand animation, and I'll show you why in a second. And this is basically showing the plans that I sent to the animator, like what I need to happen. So you can see Cot is going to be going down the stairs nervous. You see my masterful drawing. And Mayo is going to fall up onto the ceiling and then run across. That's why you see him on the side wall all of a sudden. So Mayo could walk on ceilings and the wall. Cot cannot. So Mayo's basically like, he doesn't trust this Zord thing that's going on. So he's basically just wanting to come in from a different angle just in case. So we need this shot of him falling up, running across, and then coming down, and then Cot coming down the stairs, all nervous like. So that'll be in between this here and that. You can see here, he's at the bottom of the stairs, and here they're at the top of the stairs. And you could also see that Mayo is on the wall here, but we never established that, so we need to get that in there. You can see it's kind of cool, like he falls into place here.
Zord, are you alright?
Got to fix these interpenetrations. They're already fixed. Celine has already animated all of this stuff. I just haven't updated it mostly because we've just been overwhelmed with other stuff, but that has to be replaced. But this is a proper cloth sim on Zord, so you can see he's moving correctly. The clothing is moving correctly.
Zord?
So
I think this is like the first week we're actually showing Mayo, right? I think the last week we didn't have Mayo in the shot at all.
yeah, I don't think so. You can see Mayo does not trust this whole thing, so he's like, fuck this guy. And Cot's like shaking his head like, no. So I think I probably need to get some kind of dialogue in there for Cot. It goes, what are you doing? Or something like, no, right? Because you can see he's nodding his head, but I don't think it's registering enough. So Mayo suspects that something is up.
And that fits Mayo's character. He's very instinctual.
Yeah. Mayo's obviously missing here. This shot's going to be reworked. So I do want him to react to him being called a failure. And I'll show you why in a minute. But what we were basically, I just pulled a Joe Biden. What ends up happening here is that he's looking a little too sad when he should be looking a little bit more freaked out, like there's this body talking to him. So he could look down, but he has to instantly like look back up. So we'll address that. Mayo's missing in this shot.
Zord die.
This shot, we got it in this week. I just love this shot.
And look at how Mayo's eyes behave. Like they just open
They're like
up.
little buttholes. Yeah, they're amazing. there's also an issue here under his jaw here. You can see that it's interpenetrating, so that's being fixed with rigging. Lip sync is off here, but we do have this fixed already. I just haven't swapped it out.
Moths are no threat.
And the hat is not responding. So this has to hang a second longer. Again, we have it, but I don't have it in there yet. Also, you can see here the horns look like very much like devil horns, so they are turning into the same shape as the voice in the hollow tree. So it's still horns, but there's a particular shape that we want it to hit, which we have already. Just haven't swapped it out.
Mayo's teeth are red.
Yeah, Mayo's teeth are red here. So the textures have not been finished on it. You can see very low resolution motion blur at this point. So we're rendering everything low res, not low res, but low quality, because we don't even want to waste our time with this. It's just about getting it in the edit. We know we're gonna redo so much stuff. Like the cloth is not even simmed here, so don't even waste our time. And now I need the shot of them freaking out. The idea here would be, okay, so he catches the sword. This shot has not been animated at all yet, but it would be Mayo will raise both his hands up like an old school boxer. This is the image that I sent to the animators. Like Mayo's ready to like fight, and Cod is like, fuck this, and he grabs him by the upper arm and pulls him, and then the chase kicks off, which would be this right here. Right? So this is an interesting shot. I was showing this to Tran yesterday because you could see it feels pretty cool, like him chasing after them. It looks kind of psycho. But I was having a very hard time with this shot, and I wanted to show you just the power of picking a right camera. So let's just open this here. So we have this shot here, and here it is. So there's no sound here. This is like raw in Unreal. Pretty cool. Looks pretty demented. Okay. Look at this exact same shot from another angle.
I think you you gotta click out of your browser, and then now it's smooth. He's not that cool.
It looks so goofy. And then you go in here and you change the camera. And it feels so freaking dynamic and psychotic. But it's the exact same performance. So just showing you, like, this was another angle. So I was like, maybe from behind. And I was like, oh, God, that just does not work at all. It looks kind of goofy. Then you look at it here. That guy is not a threat at all. So you could see you want to pick these camera angles that help you accentuate that moment, and never just move the camera to move the camera, right? Every movement should have a storytelling reason. And I'll show you like another one here. I'll pull this one up. This is when he catches the sword. So I wanted this to really feel like he's just snatching the sword, and I knew exactly how I wanted this to edit. It's pretty much written exactly like this in the script. But when I looked at the performance, and this was a dual performance, so it was with the motion capture, and it was also hand animated on top of that by Celine, and she did a great job. But it still didn't have the impact of the snatching that I totally wanted. It felt a little odd. I'll show you from another angle here. Like, let me just pull it up over here. It actually still looks pretty cool. But I don't know. It didn't have the snappiness that I wanted, so I was like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna grab the camera. Let me make sure I have the right camera, which is this one here. 1 second. Let me find it. I know I did so many cameras for this thing. It's probably this one. Okay, this is it. So I was like, you know what? I want to feel the movement of the blade. So I'm going to zoom the camera in really quickly to represent the knife, then stop it super abruptly, which is going to be a jarring move. But that's exactly what he's doing, right? And then when he does the neck crack, do a really fast push in one more time, which is over here, I believe.
Yeah, like the camera punches in.
So using the camera movement to accentuate that moment, right? It's like by pushing in, whenever you're pushing in on someone, it means that the person is thinking something, right? If you slowly push in on someone's face, instantly you're going to go, oh, they're thinking about something. But if you do a quick push in while their expression changes, you're saying this moment has a lot of significance, and the expression change that is going on has a lot of weight to it, and he's also thinking you're fucked, basically, right? Which is what's happening here. So getting that stuff in there. So anyway, so pretty happy with how all of this stuff is starting to turn out. I know we're gonna relight a lot of this stuff because it's got to be a little bit darker, the time of day, but I could not be happier with this shot in particular. The way this is coming out is just far exceeds my expectations. This here, so pretty happy with all of this stuff. Mayo,
We're super happy with Mayo.
yeah, just the way he's feeling, like
Even
all
though
of this.
his hair is missing, but his face looks great.
Yeah, but just the fact that he's like over here in the background, out of focus, creeping down the wall is so freaking cool. You know, I may do a rack, but I like that they're both there. Do you know what I mean? In the background, looking like, what the hell is going on? Isn't that nice? How they both come in like that? I love that.
I like that a lot. I really like how Mayo's character is really coming in through there.
Yeah, and he just looks so funny here. I probably want to put a little bit more facial stuff here. So, okay, so we have that. The next thing is this. So this is still really rough, and I'm not going to show the whole thing because is it here? Oh, I actually have that. I have that in another scene altogether. I'm going to open that up. Do you want to show something in the meantime, Tran, while I open that up?
Yeah, give me 1 second. I thought I had my project open, but
While you open that, I could also show one other thing. The other thing that I've been doing is this. Let's see, where is it? This here. So we come over here. This is how the motion capture is recorded and the actual dialogue.
oh, that's my head in the background.
Tran in the background, yeah. And I'm going to open this up here so you could see. Let me save this. Let me just save this real quick. I'll show you. Okay. So let's open this here. So there's a very long monologue moment that is coming up. And it's a lot of facial animation stuff. So what we did is when we recorded this dialogue, we also set up our camera in there to record the mocap back. So we saw it like as a bonus. So if we got something from it, awesome. If not, then too bad. Okay, but we ended up capturing everything, and you could see here. Let me open this back up. Okay, so then we're bringing this into Maya like so. So you could see we just have a plane with a texture on there. Kind of sucky that you have to bring in an image sequence. But you could see here, if I were to play this.
The moth hive. Fear of death gripped me. Yet, recalling the prophecy's promise of victory, my fear waned. Blessed by the heavens, I felt emboldened.
So it's got some issues. The main thing is he's reading off a piece of paper, so you can see his eye line that's looking off to the side. But the most difficult thing here is the mouth stuff, and it's all there. Right? So they could totally use this if they wanted to. So we're going to hand this over to the animators, and if they want to use this, awesome. And if not, that's fine. But it's all set up there, so we're doing this for every single
Recalling
take.
the prophecy.
They'll have, you know, this right here, and then you see the clapboard. The clapboard, for those that don't know, is actually an audio syncing device. So when you do the little clapping here, you can see that he's going to blink as he closes that. That tells us two things. Now we could synchronize this with that blink, so we know what the exact timing of that moment is. Right? Now that we have that, you could see here inside of Premiere, we have different sources here. We have the actual...
I just see my face popping. It's so funny.
I don't know why this is appearing as black all of a sudden. So weird. So let me see if it's this here. Okay, I don't know why it's going on. So you can see here it's clapping, and you could see if you zoom in to the audio, you can see that you see the clapboard spike up. So now you know how to synchronize the two things together. And that's the whole purpose of this clapboard that you've been seeing, if you didn't know that. So now you could synchronize the spike in the audio with the camera audio and the professional microphone recording device. So now they're both synchronized. Cool. The real cool thing is that Premiere now has this device that allows me to select this, shift select this, and type in, put synchronize, and it will automatically look at the two sources
Oh, that's pretty cool. It wasn't there before.
and link them up. No, you had to do it manually, but it's there now, which is pretty great. So I think, so now you can see if we were to play this, you're gonna hear, it's gonna sound like a double layered.
In the chilling darkness of the moth hive, fear of death
So
gripped
there's
me.
actually two things going on there.
Yet, recalling the prophecy's promise of victory,
That's the one from the
my fear
camera,
waned. Blessed by the heavens, I stood emboldened.
and that's the more professionally recorded
Unleash
one.
the moth.
Okay. So now we have our audio synced. The other thing that we have to do is I already did a sound edit of all of this, right? We already went in here and we did this thing here, which is showing exactly how I want this to play.
In the chilling darkness of the moth hive, fear of death gripped me.
Yet, recalling the prophecy's promise of victory, my fear waned. Blessed by the heavens, I stood emboldened. Unleash the moth.
So you can see some inner penetration.
And Argia expellum! Thou shalt not devour mine threads, evil moth!
Well done, my boy.
Now, which of you is eager to step forward first and show me the magical skills delicately woven under Master Shrag's guidance?
Okay, so now we have that. So you can see there's no facial animation on any of this stuff, but we now have that Maya file that has all the facial animation. So now we just have to find the section for each piece that we ended up using and applying that section onto the model, and then stitching all the stuff in between, because it might be a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, and now that'll be passed over to an animator, unlike myself, which is a hack, and they'll blend everything together and also accentuate the performance and make it much better. So I'm doing this for every single take on all the different characters. It's actually a pain in the ass. It actually takes quite a bit of time to do it. It's not hard, but it just takes a while.
Oh, it's,
So-
it's like a lot of work.
Yeah.
Because we take many takes. Like we don't
Yeah.
have like just one or two or even 3 takes. We'll get as many takes as we need.
Yeah. The other problem you could see is, since what part of his face is obscured here, one eye looks sleepy, so that would have to be addressed. That's not a big deal. Like I said, I figured that all the eye stuff is going to be redone anyway, but the mouth stuff is what I really cared about the most here. But it's pretty awesome. So getting that ready to go, okay? So let me save all of this. And I'll show you one other thing. Align transients. I don't get that. Not sure. Thank you, Ruben. So, okay, so let's open this up here. I'm not going to play the whole thing here, but I'll play a big part of it. Let's see. Okay, so this one, all temporary throwaway environment at the moment. But this was all about just getting the edit. This one I did something which I never do, which is edit inside of Unreal. So I'll play this for now. Let me start it from the beginning, because even I can see how choppy that looked.
Yeah, you gotta click out of your browser.
Yeah, but it's not so easy.
No, it doesn't look easy.
Let me close this as well.
Premiere is like really heavy on the machine.
No textures on anything yet. So Cotton Mayo will come in there to attack, and that's all I'm going to play because I don't want to give away a bunch of stuff. But yeah, so pretty happy with how that is starting to come together. So all of this was animated by Luma Pictures, and then I set up all the cameras for them and sent it back to them to put it together in Maya. So pretty cool. Can't wait to put textures on this. You can see like the environment literally just runs out there. I wanted it to be as brutal as freaking possible. One thing you don't see here is Cotton Mayo will run out right there. This thing runs at them, charges at them to intimidate them. Okay, so I'll stop it there. Yeah, Luma VFX. They did the animation for the Luma Pictures. So they're helping us out with this.
Yeah, and they're, it's like their top animator doing this. So
Yeah, their animation supervisor. No, not their. Yeah, I think it's one of their supervisors. So Rafael is the animation director. He's helping us out, but the actual animation is being done by one of their senior animation guys, which is pretty awesome. Give me 1 second. So yeah. So that's what I've been working on. So going back to cameras, like I'll just show you like the philosophy with this stuff. So this first shot is supposed to be like from Cotton Mayo's point of view as they're running to the screams. They're hearing him scream, they run out, and they're seeing this. Right around here, I'll probably cut to their point of view, which will be both of them like, oh my God, they've never seen a real moth before, and then cut back to this boom, right? Now, you can see here, I'm cutting, and I'm pulling him away, right? So the camera's moving backwards, and I would have Cotton Mayo over here. That way, I could keep them in the shot and their expression without losing the momentum of the shot. Okay? Always cut on the action. He moves up. Technically speaking, I should have cut here. But when I did that, it didn't register as well because it's like a very disorientating edit on purpose, because now I want you to feel like you're on the ground, right? He jumps up, so I cut on the cut down. So as he's coming down, cut to that, boom, so that you could feel that weight landing on him, right? Camera goes up and comes back down, cut on the impact so that you'll have that jarring. It's essentially a jump cut almost, which it technically would be a jarring thing. Jump cuts are not good. Jump cut to me, I mean,
jump cuts are not good, but when you really use them for what they make you feel, they're great.
and what you know is a jump cut is basically when the angle that it's cutting from and to are too similar to each other. Also, when you're cutting and the character's taking up the same amount of space or in the same position as the previous shot. So you could see here, when it's cutting from here to here, the angle is not that dramatically different. It's different enough, but it makes it a little bit jarring, which I wanted because it's the impact of him getting thrown onto the ground. Then cut as he's being lifted up. I tried cutting this multiple ways. When I cut it too soon here, this part didn't register, so I needed to have him leave the frame just a little bit, and then that red. This will probably be the point where right around here, I'll cut back to Cotton Mayo, and they're going to say, we need to do something. They light up Mayo's sword, and they decided they're going to run in and help him. He throws this at them, and then
Of course, they can't do anything against this
they
guy.
see this and they're like, what the hell are we gonna do?
I mean, story-wise, like you guys hear how Zort sounds when he talks. He's clearly older than Cotton Mayo. Like he's a teenager, and Cotton Mayo are still kids.
Yeah. So here, oh my God, they're gonna come running at this thing. That's why the angle is like this. So you can see he looks up. You'll see Cotton Mayo break into the shot here. You'll see them here coming in through here. The moth will pull back. This is my prey. You can't have him. And then he's going to charge at them. And what I ended up doing with the camera here is I recorded myself falling back on the rug.
I didn't know that's how you got it.
Yeah, so you
So
could
this
see.
was a virtue cam?
Yeah, it's an actual fall.
It works really well.
So that you feel like the character fell back. And he's basically saying, you come over here and I'll mess you up. Flies off, pulls out his pincher, raises his hand for hope. And there ain't no hope in a Miguel and Tran movie, so this ends pretty bad.
He's like,
So-
help me.
Yeah. But this was a very important moment for me. I needed him to reach out and call for help one last time. So here is, the Messiah, the greatest Threadling, calling for help from the lowest ranking, weakest one. So anyway, put that all together. So I was pretty happy with that. Problem is the environment looks like crap, which will perfect segue to what Tran is working on now.
It doesn't really look so bad. Like you haven't even laid anything out. I feel like it looks pretty good.
Yeah.
I'll share my screen.
Sadan is Sadan Vague is here.
So a couple of things. We decided right now we're looking at the scene, and you guys had seen this like a few episodes ago where Miguel was working on it, and he basically did most of all the assembling of things. I basically
And I built a lot of it.
well, you did most of it. So some of these things, like right here, like these are like mid-level assets. They're not very close. That were bought. This is done by like David, but like some of the really hero ones that hold up really, really close were made by Miguel. The only thing I made in the environment was the flower, and then
Which is the prettiest thing.
the flower is a pain. It really hurt. And that's kind of, I just wanted to have more color, and I wanted it to feel a little bit more whimsical. But this is not really what it is going to look like. We decided.
By the way, let me just say, like, one of the things about this is we want this to feel so pretty. So remember, the whole thing that I want is people to watch this and be like, oh, this is just another bullshit cartoon about friendship, and then it's all gonna go to fucking hell, right? It's gonna go to absolute madness in the next shot, which is the sequence you saw with the moth attacking this guy, but we wanted it to end as cute as possible. Like they're in a field, they're having the heart to heart, and that's when they're gonna hear someone screaming in the distance, and you're gonna be like, wait, what is gonna happen? Oh, they're gonna save their day and overcome their weaknesses together. And no. So this is all, we're intentionally red herring this entire thing. We're making it as cute as possible so that when everything goes to hell, you're completely caught off guard. Well, not you guys, because you guys know it, but
Yeah, because you
everyone
guys
else.
are hanging out with us. Well, some of you guys almost every week, which is amazing, and thank you for that. But yeah, so the scene is supposed to feel a little bit more whimsical. The cacti all have subsurface scattering, and it really doesn't look as good in Lumen. This is the path tracer, so I just changed it up here, and it looks many times better. Particularly like the flowers and things like that. This flower, was a really big pain to make. I spent a lot of time on it. I really hate making flowers. They're actually very difficult. I think it works well enough here, and you can kind of see like there's some color. It's a little bit stylized. I do also think that there's a sense of scale. You can tell that these are little guys. This is supposed to be Mayo. I just don't have him in here. And then Cot's gonna be sitting on the cart, you know, and it's like really cute. And there's gonna be like prickly pears in there. So it's like a cute scene. And Cot is feeling down, right? But this is before the moth attack. So this is like the vibe. We want it, again, like what Miguel was saying, we want it to feel like magical. And, you know, these
And
type of
someone said Smurfing great, and that's totally that's a great
Smurfing.
That's actually
It's
a
very
great,
yeah, it's very much that. Like
very much inspired. It's Smurfs with xenomorphs, right? It's Fraggle Rock with xenomorphs. That's the main thing. We want this to feel so freaking cute, and all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, why is this happening?
yeah, so the cart was designed to feel cute. You know, it's round, and let me switch over. It's a little bit slow because I'm using path tracer. But you know, from this angle, as it's rendering, you can kind of see it is
This is all Unreal still.
yeah, it's still unreal. That very round, just like Cot, and he's sitting up here, hanging out with Mayo. So that's like the kind of vibe that we're supposed to have.
So this is him saying how he's just sucks at what he does because he's a stutterer, so he can't do his magic spells correctly, and Mayo is feeling down as well because he feels like Mayo looks up to Cot. So the fact that Cot would think that he's dumb, Cot feeling that he himself is dumb, well, Mayo's like, wait, but then that means I'm dumb too because Mayo just worships Cot,
Yeah, they're basically
the outcast.
yeah, and they're like they have a friendship that's like brothers,
Yeah.
practically. So that's the feeling of this scene. This scene is not as far as the environment time. We are spending most of the time in the other set, and this is like a smaller section. So this will be rendered path tracer because it looks a lot better. So
'Cause
if
everything's got subsurface.
yeah, so if I switch here to like lit, instantly like, whoa, it doesn't even look anywhere as good.
It's actually pretty dramatically inferior.
Yeah, I'll switch it again. Like those flowers just look really like plasticky. It just doesn't look as nice. It feels so different.
Yeah.
We didn't want to. We kind of explored the path tracer in the beginning, and it, you know, we decided not to do it. So we were like, let's just stick with Lumen. But when we went out into the cactus scene, they just didn't feel right. Like Lumen, subsurface scattering doesn't quite do it, you know? Here's another angle. Oh, that's like some of the angles that Miguel's framed. Maybe I'll switch to lighting here. Give me 1 second. Let's adjust this. Let's pull it up a little, give it a little bit more sun. Let's pop back in here. You know, it's funny with the Lumen, it doesn't look really any better in their interior environments with like, you know, what you guys been seeing most of the time. It kind of just looks a little bit different, but not necessarily better. But with the exterior stuff, it really is dramatically,
Superior.
yeah, in many ways. So you guys can see that. We will get render times, but I don't think it will be so bad because it's not where, you know, a huge part of the time of the story takes place. So I think we can just kind of muscle through this a little bit. But yeah, this is what I've been doing. Actually been spending most time making the flower, to be honest. which is really kind of tedious. And it really, when I brought it in here, it really just didn't, it just looks like that. It's oversaturated, partially because I color corrected it for path tracer. So like, if we do adjust like COTS shaders and materials, he will have like a path tracer material, and then there will be like a lumen material. He seems fine, kind of. But normally, like, I think I can do some improvements when he switches over to path tracing. As far as like how this looks, it looks something like this. This floor was originally this floor, which actually looked really fantastic. If you guys go back like several episodes ago, Miguel had gotten like displacement mapping working on this floor, and you made this in Gaia, right?
Yeah, it's all Gaia.
And it looks really awesome. It doesn't seem to work with Path Tracer, and I think that even if it did, I kind of decided, or we decided, like, let's not make the scene heavier. So like with the fact that every cactus has subsurface scattering, even this has subsurface scattering, like this cart, like all the cloth and the characters have subsurface scattering, it's already like enough. So we just decided to, replace the floor with kind of like these sheets right here, which I made in Mixer. And I'm just bringing them in and getting ready to like place more sheets around. So that's what I've been dealing with. And again, don't underestimate this flower. It actually takes a very long time to make a flower. Other things I will be doing over here. This is like an important piece. This is like, there's a newer version. I have to swap it in. One of the former students at Gnomon made this. And in this story, Mayo is going to climb up on top of this, and he's going to cut some fruit. So he's gathering some stuff, and he's going to drop them in this cart. So it's like a kind of supposed to be like a cute, wholesome type of scene. So let me just minimize this. I'm pretty tired. As far as how I've been doing this, I think I have to close this. Let's just save this. Because Mixer is actually really heavy. Let me just maximize this. So Mixer, Quixel Mixer goes hand in hand really well with Mega Scans. And it does a really good job at this. So basically, what it is, well, what it does is mix materials. Maximize that. And what I did is I just went on, you can create an account, went in and downloaded a few materials here. And then I just double click and it imports them in. So originally start with a piece like this. And this was kind of tricky because it's actually really difficult to kind of find something with the right scale, because we are wanting more details in it, since we're seeing everything up close because these are little guys. And then all I did here was just bring some sand because we wanted more flat areas. As much as I like this is not good for animation because the floor is very uneven and it would just create a lot of problems. Like you'd have to deal with like contact points and everything. So then what I did here is just bring in some sand and then erased some of this stuff here. And this is all according to height. And what's really nice about this is you can blend this material over here. So for anyone who's used Mixer, you already know this. But anyone who's not used it before, this is a super powerful tool. You can do a lot of amazing things. One is a sand material by itself. And again, one is a rock material like this. And based on the height, you can just place a kind of blend. So it looks really natural. You have a radius, which controls how it blends. So this is very sharp fall off to like a more soft fall off. And then what you can also do, let's say if you want to kind of push away certain areas or erase certain areas, you can add a paint layer. And I can tell it to push some of this rocks down here. So what that does is just push it down. Let's undo that. Give me 1 second. And once this is being pushed down like this, it just ends up under the sand. And so what I did here, let me just reload this. Okay. So what I did there was push the rocks out here. And what it gave me was a kind of path. This is an intentional path because there's a cart, and most likely, you know, in this world, you know, it's like visual storytelling. It's not unusual for them to go out and to like leave their colony and go into the cactus field to do like harvesting or, you know, whatever it is they're doing. What Mayo's doing is gathering some fruit, prickly pears.
You know what you could do that could also help that is if you just duplicate that sand layer, you could just make the color a little bit lighter and then mask in the pathway.
Oh, you mean like, so that it's a little bit lighter?
Yeah,
I didn't want it to be too strong.
you want it to be subtle.
Yeah, because I just wanted to kind of suggest that.
Show that's not in Unreal yet though, is it?
Yeah, this isn't Unreal.
I see it. I didn't see the track marks at all.
Since I'm streaming, I don't want to load too many applications. Mixer is quite heavy. What's funny is like Unreal should be the heaviest software, but it runs very optimal. Like it feels heavier to use Mixer for me than to use Unreal. Kind of right. There it is.
There it is.
Right, but the cart and the shadows are over it, so you don't see anything.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, so it's kind of the shadows. Lighting is not really set.
Move the lighting around just for fun. Let's just see it.
Well, what we don't want is it. I don't think we want to go. Okay, I lost my time of day. We don't want to light it from the front. Like this, right?
No.
What we want for the subsurface to look nice is to kind of hit it from the back. So you can see here when we hit these kind of angles, and again, this is an illuminate.
Yeah, look how nice that umbrella looks.
Yeah, it looks very nice. So if we shift this to Path Tracer, you get a glow. You can probably actually enhance this glow too. in the material itself. Maybe what I have to do is it just a profile? But in any case, I don't have to do it right now. I can save that for later so that it does have that kind of nice glow. And you can see how the plants pick up this kind of like nice backlighting. And even this cactus here. This one has a lot of subsurface, maybe a bit too much. I can come back and adjust it, but it is very thin around these areas, so it's going to have a little bit more. So what we want for sure is for the light to come towards the back. So most likely, you know, light could come from this way, it can come from that way, but that's kind of our range. And then what we also need in the story, and this is where it gets tricky, is we do want it to be more golden hour, but our shadows do get kind of long. So I don't know. What do you think, Miguel?
Yeah, you don't want the shadows to be that long. I wouldn't make it that golden hour yet. I would make it more golden hour when the moth is landing, even though it's like seconds later. Like, who cares? I would just cheat it.
So maybe like shadows a little bit higher
Yeah.
in the sky. Now, it's the shadows, they would have to be this direction, right?
Mm-hmm.
So some visual storytelling things that Miguel and I were discussing. Let me open up this right here, sequencer. You don't see any shadow here though. Like you know, this is the frame shot of it, but you won't feel any shadow.
You could change it on a shot by shot basis.
No, but I just don't think you'll see it because the ground is so high. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
I think we have to be like this kind of,
Yeah, I agree.
so something like this.
Hide that. Press G.
Give me 1 second. But what we are talking about is like trying to have a lot of sun and just have this cart be in shadow. But that's really tricky because there's so many things going on. Maybe I'll just pull this out. And just in terms of like visual storytelling, the idea is like he's in shadow and the place feels really sunny. But I don't know, I don't think that's really coming across. So that's one thing that we're trying to figure out here. I don't know, what do you think?
About what in particular?
The visual storytelling shadow thing?
Yeah, I think it's something like around there.
Does that work?
Mm-hmm.
Let's kick the path tracer in.
I like the bounce when you go to Path Tracer. It like fills in the shadows.
Yeah, it looks very nice. And everything starts coming together. But yeah, I don't know. What else do you think?
I don't know. What else do we have to talk about?
Well, I mean, I was talking about the mixer stuff before I cut it out of it. Let me just load that back up.
I'll open something up too.
Give that a second. Okay, so basically this is the main floor. And once I have this, I create a couple variations of the sheet. Just coming back here. And you can see I have dirt 2, 3, 4. And the reason for this is that we will have a shot where we're looking down, which means that it's going to expose a lot of floor, which means that if it's very tiley, you're going to see the tiling across the whole thing. So basically I have variations like this. And even though this is like showing me a mesh and it's displaced, it's really just textures. And notice here, there's a lot of really nasty tearing like this. And that's just kind of a natural effect. And then I'm gonna kind of fix all this. Now, as far as like, again, this is just all textures, right? So I go and I export it and I get a displacement map. And then what I've been doing is I've been using Mudbox to actually displace it. So there's a few ways to do this. You can do this in Unreal now, but I find it like difficult to make any adjustments. You can also do this in ZBrush, but I actually don't think it does a very good job. And I don't get like really good quality. So I've actually been doing it in Mudbox and correcting it, and it looks much nicer. So I bring in a plane. It already has UVs, which is not showing up. And then I divide this like up until 10 million polys. And I grab the textures that I've managed to export. Let's bring in number 4. And I just go and apply the map. Just let it do its thing. Okay, so it doesn't look like it shows up. It's over here. It's there, it's just really, really weak. And I bring the strength to like 6,000. And it gives me this mesh now. So now it's actually properly displaced. And then what I've been doing here in the cleanup process is just finding where it's tearing or really stretching. Like this is some kind of debris that's sticking really high up. And I just been tediously pushing it down and then coming in and fixing these weird tears right here because they will look really bad. So I have not been doing that much exciting stuff like Miguel's doing. I've just been doing like really monotonous things.
What I'm doing is exciting.
It's much more exciting than this. I think it's exciting. It looks so fun. I don't think it's easy. I think it's way harder than this. But that's all part of it. Right? Because the thing is, these are really big in scale. And if I don't come in and I fix this, I'm just gonna have really nasty tearing. So I basically smooth it out, push it down, just so the geometry doesn't look super messed up. It's still gonna tear, like have some of this at certain angles. And then what I'll do is I'll just shove like other rocks to cover it, basically kind of band-aid it. And I don't really notice it like in the shot so far, just as long as you're careful on that part. Once this is done, I export this. I bring it into ZBrush. it's so many steps. So I bring in a ZBrush to decimate it because if I don't have to bring in a 10 million poly mesh, I don't want to. I do want to try to keep the project size a little bit smaller. On Voice in the Hollow, it was like 1 terabyte, which was really massive. And then once this is decimated, and then bring it back into Maya and soften the normals. So it takes a bit of time. And I'm going to produce several of these sheets so that we don't see the tiling, so that we can have like a more downward view of the landscape that looks better. Anyway, you want to show some stuff?
I don't really know what to show. So someone is saying, could you please go over your Unreal render out settings? I don't think we're ready to go over that yet because we haven't found a perfect setting that we're happy with at the moment. So we've been basing a lot of it on some of William Foucher's output settings, and he's got a better video than we could ever make on that.
Yeah.
Um,
I also think
but sometimes I do think that some of the settings are maybe excessive. So we're trying to, like some of the render times that I was getting when I was doing some tests were so high that we have to find the right balance.
Yeah, and the other thing that's going to be a factor in this is the hair. So we're going to have settings that work for the hair.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which may be different than,
and it's definitely going to be different for when we actually use like the path tracer, and we don't have those settings.
yeah.
So once we get into lighting, then we'll start trying to optimize it.
Yeah. Let's see. So I'm just looking at the sequence. You know, one of the things that's tough is when the motion capture is recorded, it's recorded with with single motion capture suits all recorded separately. So to get all the eye lines and everybody to seem like they're all working together is kind of tough. So yeah, that kind of stuff. Like you can see Mayo here is like in a completely different place.
It says they just look like they're
Yeah, like they're just in a completely different.
they look like The Sims.
Yeah. So that's why I just got so quiet. I'm like, oh crap. Like that's gonna require some stuff. The thing about this though that makes me not so worried is I know that when this actually gets edited, it's not going to be edited as one long sequence. So when you get to cut around things become much, much easier because then you could rotate the characters so that they work on that one shot, that the eye lines look better. So a lot of that stuff could be fixed. So I'm not so worried about that, but I still, I want to get to the point where we have a motion capture setup that is just so clean. Like,
Yeah, we're always kind of working around things, our limitations.
yeah, like I would like to have one of those Vicon $120,000 6 actors at the same time kind of setup.
But that's not what we have.
That's not what we have.
Yeah.
But that would be awesome. Because that stuff's optical. Like they could literally do whatever the hell you want. If they're like if they fall on the ground or whatever, it's still figure it out based on all the other sensors. So yeah. But anyway, that's what I was looking at. I'm like, he's looking over here. He's looking up into the sky, and this guy's looking off over here.
No, they look like they're at a dance party.
They look like they're at a dance party. Look. So that's that.
Basically, this is what Miguel has to deal with. He has to deal with a lot of stuff. Although I think the stuff he's doing looks much more exciting. It is more difficult.
Yeah. So, you know, just looking at it from the top, I'm like, is he?
Are these guys cleaned up yet?
They are.
They're cleaned up individually, but not with each other.
Yeah. So let's see. So what do we have here? We have 1,300 frames. So one of the things I could do is I could just hide everything, come over here, and basically, let's go over here. And just start selecting the character. And start exporting these guys out and bringing them into Unreal. Let me see. I want to see. Well, let's just try. So cache Alembic export selection to Alembic.
So what's happening story-wise, what they're supposed to be doing, instead of being at a dance club, is this scene takes place right after they witness what happened to Zord, right? And they're telling they're running up to the professor and they're telling him what they witnessed, and Cotton and Mayo are freaking out. And that's why they look like they're dancing.
Yeah, so they're basically saying, we saw this, and the moth came down, and he grabbed Zord, and da-da-da-da, and no one is going to believe them. And that basically becomes what the story is about. It's the two lowest ranking guys in the entire village that suck at what they do, telling everybody that their messiah, their most important figure, Zord, was murdered, and no one believes him. And to make matters worse, that messiah figure appears as if nothing had happened to him. So now they really look like liars. And then when Cotton and Mayo investigate, they realize that he is being possessed by larvae that are eating him from within, and he's now murdering Threadlings at the colony, and no one believes them.
Yeah. That's the gist of it. Like that scene that Miguel played, the play blast in the premiere of like Zort doing his speech, where he looks like he's on a stage. He is on a stage. He's doing like a demonstration. He's telling a story of how like he defeated these moths, and if he comes off phony because it's intentional, and a prop moth comes out that's all cute, and then Zort blasts it away. It's not a real moth.
It's a fabric moth.
Yeah, so it's a fabric prop moth, and most of these threadlings, I mean, you know, don't necessarily go into these details, but they've never seen like a real moth, right? At least the young ones haven't. And that's like a huge contrast and juxtaposition to when you actually see the real thing. So we have a scene of Zort defeating a fake moth, and Zort being obliterated by a real moth. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So right now I'm caching this out, and I'll start bringing it into.
You have a question. That's an interesting point.
So it's gonna be like 15 minutes. So it's gonna be like
We don't conclude the story.
we don't conclude the story. So it is ending with a bit of a cliffhanger, but you're absolutely right. We could expand that concept into a feature film completely. And that's the goal ultimately, right? Like The Voice in the Hollow is something that we did. We ended up selling it. And we're trying to do the exact same thing here. Turn this into a bigger project. So you need to have the promise that there is enough story there to turn it into something bigger. So, yeah.
This is kind of it's a bit tricky to kind of format a story like that because it's not a self-contained story, which is something that we struggle with, that it's not complete. And it's not necessarily like the first act either. It's almost like it's like an episode. I think that's the best way to.
Yeah, it's fairly episodic.
Yeah, it's episodic. It doesn't mean that we want to do this as a series. It's just seems like the best way to try to present this.
Yeah. We need to, our goals with this is set up the characters. Are their personalities clear? Are their wants and insecurities clear? Is the world clear? Are the bad guys clear? People would look at that and be like, oh, we could turn this into something much bigger. So that would be the big time goal. But of course, we want to make sure that each out of this, that we make something that is not another, Disney kind of thing. And we love Disney and we love Pixar and all that stuff. So I don't want to say that in a negative way, but that's not what we're trying to do at all. We're trying to do something that they would never do. We showed this recently to a buddy of our shot animation producer, showrunner, and when he saw some of the violence in this, I think he freaked out. I think he really was like he was kind of like at a loss for words, and he's like, "Wait a minute, what the hell is?" And we're like, "Well, we told you this is gonna be like, Smurfs or Fraggle Rock with xenomorphs."
Yeah, it's Jim Henson meets John Carpenter.
Yeah, we're like, we weren't kidding. Like, we're not gonna sugarcoat this thing. This is not gonna end with them to overcoming their weaknesses
And that's kind of the thing that is really interesting. Like, for anyone that's seen John Carpenter's stuff, his stuff is not timid.
Yeah, the big influences for this story-wise is Invasion of the Body Snatchers and The Thing.
Yeah, and the thing is like, how many guys some of you guys are probably really young on the stream, but the thing is like, it's totally like complete horror, like a lot of body horror in it too.
Yeah.
So.
But I think people think that we don't fully mean that when we say it.
Yeah, we were like Jim Henson meets John Carpenter.
They go, oh, it's gonna have a synth music, but it's gonna be really fun and about overcoming your obstacles and in your insecurities. And it's like, no, that's not what this is.
Well, how did you pitch this before? You pitched it like.
I pitched it like, what if Jim Henson had hired John Carpenter to make a movie in the 80s? And then when the studio saw it, they said, there's no fucking way we're going to release this. You're both fired. And then they threw the film away and then burnt it.
Yeah, so that's, and then when we show that, they're like, what? And we're like, isn't that what we told you what it was?
Yeah, but I think they're romanticizing it in their head. They're thinking like, oh, what you meant by that was it's just synth music. And then, look, the thing that I hate the most about horror whenever it has to do with animation is always, the bad guy is, the monsters are not really monsters. It's just their insecurity. It's just their inner demons. It's like, oh, the monster was not real. It was just a metaphor for your mom didn't love you. Oh, this here is just it's a metaphor for
your fears,
your fears or whatever.
Learning to be brave or learning to speak up for yourself.
Yeah, and it's like, no, we want our guy with a chainsaw to be a metaphor for a guy with a chainsaw. There's no metaphor. It's these little guys and they're getting eaten by moths. The end.
Well, yeah, we'll see how this goes. Ultimately, like when we make something like this, we're completely aware of like, we're self-aware like how someone might take it, but we decide like, do you want to please some invisible person, or do you want to do what you think is good? And at the end of the day, if nothing comes from it, at least you did what you wanted to do.
This would be much more commercial if it wasn't violent, 100%. But the way we figure it is let them filter it once they decide to turn it into something bigger, but we're not going to filter ourselves initially.
Yeah, you'll end up with something very, very mediocre.
The guy with the chainsaw is a metaphor for the guy with the chainsaw. Quote of the day. But you know, the thing is, we started feeling that a lot because we started seeing like there's actually a genre now in horror, which is the social horror stuff, and everything is a metaphor for something else. Oh, that's a metaphor for inequality. That's a metaphor for this. That's a metaphor for that. It's like, oh my god, let's just go back to the dude with a fucking chainsaw and a leather mask.
And I don't think metaphors are bad. I just think
No, I don't either.
no, and I think if you can tell a story that has an extra layer of depth, that's beautiful and that's amazing. But sometimes if it's something that is really forced, it doesn't feel very genuine at all, right? It feels like some kind of formula. It becomes predictable, and I don't think everything has to be like one way.
Yeah. Tran always says things smarter than I do. Yes, like that.
Yeah. I don't know. I think at the end of the day, Miguel and I, we struggle with the story. Particularly me. I go, is it okay? Can we do this? And then at the end, I do come around and I say, look, you know, how am I going to feel about this at the end? And because, you know, whether you do this like with your heart or whether you do this with the intent of thinking that you're gonna sell this, either one of those might fail, right? So you can do exactly what you want, and then no one cares about it, no one likes it, or you can do what you think people want, and no one cares, and no one likes it. If you do what you think people want and it doesn't make it, you're gonna feel like you screwed up, right? Like you made something like without real intent, and you're gonna always go, what if I just did what I wanted? So that's why we don't do that. If you go with like what you think is good, and if no one wants it, at the end you can just say, look, at least I did what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I do think the chances of like people liking something that is not very genuine is much lower. Like usually audiences will gravitate towards things that they feel, you know, are authentic, and then they can sense it.
In a violent nature is one of the latest movies. It doesn't have social messages, just violence. I haven't seen that. I want to see it. And just
But
yeah,
our thing is not completely just like that either.
it's
right?
not. No, it's not just. There is a story. It's not just violence. But what I guess what we're saying is that the. What am I saying? I don't know what I'm saying.
Yeah. No, this is just an aspect. There is something. There is a, you know. There's a feeling of friendship. At least what we're trying to get from these characters. I think that's the hardest part. Going to be, you know, the hardest part to like bring in. Like these two guys, Cotton Mayo, are best friends, and they're both losers. So in their society, right? Not necessary to like us, the audience, but in this world that we have, like neither of them can really do magic right, and being able to do magic is pretty important. So they're lower ranking, and they, you know, stick up for each other.
Yeah.
So we'll, you know, see if that comes across.
Yeah, I think what we like is horror that has a heart to it. That it's not. So I have a lot of horror movies, like an absurd amount of horror movies, and I don't like straight slasher movies because I feel that there's nothing there either, right? So
Yeah, I don't like that stuff.
Silent
either.
Night, Deadly Night, like stuff like that. I don't like that. I actually love the beginning of Silent Night, Deadly Night, and then to me it has a lot of impact in the beginning, and then it just goes stupid. But stuff like that, I don't fully don't fully love it. Texas Chainsaw Massacre is one of the rare exceptions because it's just so absolute rawness. The first one, the Toby Hooper one, that's an exceptional one. And I think after that, the only other ones like that, like I'm not a huge fan of Friday the 13th movies. I like Nightmare on Elm Street. I think those are fun because Freddy is funny. But I think like the best horror stuff to me is all the Asian stuff. It's always the better stuff, and it's because it's more character driven. Um, yeah, so I think that's what we're trying to go for. But I think with this one in particular, we're going more for stuff like The Thing or the 1985 Blob, the Frank Darabont one. What's the one I actually even worked on it? The Fog. It's more of just a monster movie, but it's just taking up these two little guys are the ones facing it, which we just thought would be interesting to have the most unlikely cute looking characters going through this horrible stuff. It's basically kind of masochistic on our side to want to torture these really cute guys.
But that's a sign of a story, right? Like when you guys watch, or at least most people, when they're watching a movie or, you know, any kind of story, which can be in it's a TV show or a movie or even a video game, you always want to see like the main character have something to overcome. Like if everything is really easy, you just get bored, right? So, you know, I think these little guys struggling and going through they're going through some stuff. they're little kids. They witnessed this thing. I don't think they even know how to process this.
Yeah.
And that's something intentional because that's what you want to do in the story.
Yeah.
You have to give the characters struggles. And this is their struggle, right? They're seeing something, they're little, they're cute, and this is like horrifying to them.
Yeah. So just so you guys know, I'm just caching out all these Alembic files. While that's caching out, I may as well just
Oops, I didn't mean to steal the. You can take it back. I just wanted to like thumbnail what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing. Super exciting.
life's too short to watch all Transformers movies.
Yeah, I worked on a Transformers movie.
Tran worked on Transformers 2.
I don't even know what. I don't think it was 2. I don't remember
Isn't it
what.
like the Dark Side of the Moon one?
I don't know what number that is.
It's like 2 or 3.
I liked working on it. I don't think I really liked the movie that much. But it was.
I don't think you even saw the movie. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I don't think I saw it. And you know what? Like, your professional experiences can shape you.
So they said sorry. I don't think she's offended at all. I don't think she even saw it.
I'm not offended. You know, when I was working professionally at a studio, and you have a lot of colleagues, and when you get to work on a film that you're excited about, everyone is just like so pumped. Like, you know, whether it's a director that they like or a story that they believe in. I kind of ended up working on a lot of stuff that I was never excited to see, which probably influenced a lot of decisions to like come and, you know, to try to do like our own stories.
I worked on a lot of crap.
Yeah, I worked on a lot of crap too.
I worked on most of the Twilight movies. I've never seen one of them. I worked on the second and the third one. I worked on Cats and Dogs, The Revenge of Kitty Galore. I never saw that. I worked on. We saw Thor. We didn't see the Transformers. You worked on.
No, we didn't see that. I didn't see that.
We worked on. Oh man, so
I know that-
Jack the Giant Slayer. We never saw the whole thing.
No, that one's the one that broke us.
Yeah. Okay, so what am I doing here? So, so shots. So let's do a new folder and let's call this.
See, but the process was worth it. Yeah, I mean, I still liked. I didn't watch Transformers, but I really liked working on the show.
Yeah.
Like it was fun. I was very passionate about like the project itself. Like to me, in my opinion, I felt like Michael Bay like knew what he wanted in his movie, so it made things like easier. As a director, he did have like a vision and stuff like that. In my opinion,
Yeah, he does.
he does. And when you work on a show where the director knows what they want and like where it should go, those are usually more pleasant shows to work on because one, you're not like unsure what you're supposed to do. Like you have a clear directive, and it's fun making robots. To be to be honest.
Yeah, and just because I say that I haven't seen certain movies, it doesn't mean that I didn't love working on them, right? I liked working on Twilight. I liked working on
Well, you got to make wolves. That was pretty fun.
yeah.
And I really like hard surface modeling. The funny thing is when we went on to do like our own projects, like we're not doing any hard surface stuff. Like none of our stuff is sci-fi.
I loved working on I worked on Priest. I liked working on Priest a lot.
You had to do
I've
cool
never seen
creature
Priest
stuff.
either.
Yeah, it had a cool creature in it.
I saw which one did I see? What other one did I work on? So Kitty Galore, Cats and Dogs 2, that one I really liked working on that one because I got to do a lot of design work on that.
Not just it was executed really well. Like
Yeah, it was executed. It was really
the
funny because they
animation.
kept telling me like, okay, we need someone to do designs for this. The director said he does not want this at all. And I would literally not listen to a word that they would say, and I would just do it how I would want it done. And all of my designs were getting approved on that. And I was literally going completely against what they were saying. They were like,
it had like a cool what era is that? 60s, 70s?
yeah, like a James Bond feel.
Yeah. I remember.
But I was like, I'm going to do this how I want to do. I'm going to submit my designs the way I want them done. And they were all getting approved. That was for Tippett. Even back then. This is 15 years ago. He was working on Mad God, which is crazy.
What is giant moth is close enough to sci-fi?
Yeah, the father of the moth is on the stream. Sadan Vague is the one who did.
Yeah, he's a designer.
He designed the moths. He did all the beautiful work. We might reach out to you again because I want you to possibly finish up the castle for them because it's not fully done. So I might ask you for help on that. I never got to finish it, and I don't have time for that.
You mean the moth hive?
Yeah, the exterior.
Yeah. You know, one thing that's really tough about this exterior environment is that the scale. It makes it hard to like use like pre-made stuff because it's like too low poly and it just looks like really crappy. Like, you know, like how big is a piece of debris or a little twig in a regular scale film? It's nothing. You don't see it.
Yeah.
And then here it's like a log. It's like a giant like trunk and it doesn't hold up.
Yeah.
Like normally in Voice in the Hollow, I didn't go through this process of like cleaning up We use the mixer a lot, but I didn't go through this process of cleaning it up because it was just like tiny, and you're not gonna see it. You're not gonna notice it. Here, you're gonna just notice everything.
Yeah.
Are you importing
I'm bringing in the Alembic file, which is extremely heavy, so
how many frames is that?
1,000.
Oh, that's a lot. So on Voice in the Hollow, again, I mentioned earlier, like our project size was like 1 terabyte. That's really rough. So I don't know. I hope we can keep things smaller. I don't know. I don't think that's realistic, but we'll see how large our project gets.
Yeah, there's a lot of waiting. There's a lot of waiting in
Oh, there's so much waiting. But it's much faster. On Voice in the Hollow, when we would bring in files, sometimes it would just like, it would not bring it in. You would just leave it overnight, wake up, and you're like, it's still trying to bring the file in. And importing was like, bringing in things was like kind of a struggle. It's not like that anymore. And lighting has gotten a lot better. Lighting was like really, really hard. On Voice in the Hollow, it would like break all the time. And here, I feel like, I don't know, we don't have to try so hard.
What I like about doing CG versus when we're writing is I get to watch stupid stuff in the meantime while you're working.
Oh yeah,
I think that's the greatest thing that people don't talk about. Like, why is working in CG so awesome?
you can
Is that
play
you
a
can watch
movie.
movies, you can watch TV, you can watch whatever the hell you want. No one is going to say, hey, you can't be watching this. You're at work. No one cares. And that's pretty awesome. You get to watch all of that stuff. If you're writing, you can't even listen to music because it'll distract you.
Yeah, that's totally true.
What does that say? It's like a different part of the brain, huh?
Well, there's a lot of like manual task. I think CG, I don't know if it's just a different part, but CG requires so much tedious work. Whereas I think writing, it's not hard,
No, but yet it's so much harder in a way.
but it's not about the words. Whereas like in CG, it's like, okay, you know, your sense of design, you have to be a good artist. And not only you have to be a good artist, you gotta like, your topology has to be good, right? You gotta watch your poly count. Your UVs have to be good. You gotta have a good workflow. You have like a bunch of extra crap attached on top of the fact that you have to be a good artist.
Yeah. All right, so he's in here. So this is actually one of the most amazing things about this new version of Unreal is the fact that you can now bring in 1,000 frames of Alembic cache. You could absolutely not do this before. It's going slow. There it is. So some of the shaders look like they're not linked correctly. So, okay. So let's just take a look at that. So first, I could see right away he's going to be too dark in here. So I'll probably put a light right above him. Something like that. Let's narrow the cone angle. We'll bring up the light a little bit. Let's angle it on the door a tiny bit as well. And this thing here, we'll adjust it on a shot-by-shot basis to kind of cheat it so that there's always some kind of light on him. Okay, so we have that. So it looks like some of his shaders did not assign correctly, so let's take a look and see. So right now, there's no facial stuff on this at all, as you can see. I'm not worried about that because right now my main thing is just let's just get all our angles in here. And then we'll figure out what works and what does not work. Okay, so let's create a camera. My camera is already a preset by default, which is the Threadling camera. Has a much bigger film back size. The reason for that is so that we get a very shallow depth of field. So I like to use like 50. I have been using more wide angle lenses on this project more than usual. But for this, I'll probably go with like,
That's because you've been doing a lot of action.
yeah,
It's like very intense scenes.
so let's get our focus. Try to keep some of the lines diagonal if possible. So kind of like that. I kind of like that. Wow, what a delay when I'm looking at how,
You mean on the stream?
yeah. Like I turned off that purple thing like a while ago and I'm still seeing it on the other screen. So something like that. So there's this really weird reflection going on here. So let's adjust some of our settings. Okay, so let's just play with this and see what we have here. So let's grab this guy, throw him into our sequencer. We'll start at frame 0. And we'll attach the geometry cache so we could start seeing him moving around. There's going to be all kinds of issues with this. I already know it, so it's okay. So let's bring this here. Just stretching out the camera. Let's see something. Is his eyes closed? It looks like his eyes.
No, I think the lighting is just very dark. Are his eyes attached? I feel like he has his shaders, possibly, because I see like the pupil. I would just put like front light him. You'll know right away. His normal map might be like really strong.
No, there's no shader on his face.
He's got no. He has no eyeballs. I like how his design turned out.
Yeah.
I like
So
giant candle. I
this
like
is
giant candle
really
too.
like where it should start at. So I'm gonna, because his legs do some weird stuff before. Okay. So So just looking at this, I'm going to think that we're going to need to put, I know I just deleted a light, which is kind of stupid, and I'm not just going to recreate a whole other one. But we probably need a candle over here.
You know, he's lighting him is so much different than lighting Ka or Mayo, because he has so many planes on his face. Ka is a ball, and Mayo is just like he's kind of a flat ball. And this character actually has like depth and a lot of form.
Yeah, he's much more like Boris Karloff from the Monster Bash cartoon.
Yeah, like as you're lighting him now, I'm like, oh, he's gonna be different.
So let's get him in focus around here. It just sucks because I'm not gonna have the eyeball, so he's gonna look very odd. However, I know for certain that if I try to,
Were you able not? Does he not have a separate assignment for his eyes?
I don't think it's in here, because I have, unless this is it here. I don't.
I see it. It's prof eyes right there, the fourth shader.
No, I see that. I know where they are here. I don't think that there's a slot for it in the shader. Yeah, I don't think it created a slot for. I have to go back to the rig and see what happened.
Oh, I see. It wasn't assigned.
Yeah.
Here's a question. Is it just easier to do limit caches even if you have more than one character and even creatures? I don't think we can. I'm not sure we can bring our like rig in here. Like our rig is really complex.
Yeah, I like the giant candles too. I'll bring the giant candles in.
So like our rig is in Maya, and I know you can bring in like a very basic rig from Maya into Unreal, but it has like a ton of blend shapes and corrective shapes, and it's really complex. I don't think we can bring in the rig as it is in Maya into Unreal. So then that puts us in a position that we have to use Alembics. An Alembic pipeline is like a film pipeline that is like super common, and it's just not something that is like probably what Unreal is used to doing.
Oh. So this is probably going to be the task of the week, is getting this sequence to.
My task is try to finish up this cactus field, which I think I can. Figure out how to lay it out, which I'm not sure. In terms of like laying it out, it's like how does where the cart and cot sits connect to like where the moth attack is. And if I can, I want to be able to finish the look dev of the moth. The moth is textured, but it doesn't have the shaders. And very likely I'll have to adjust textures. That's just normal. And then the moth will have fur, because most moths have some kind of fuzz on them.
So what I want to do is, as he's moving through space, have him come in and out of light. So he's not just lit.
That's kind of cool. That could look really nice.
So right now you can see there's some light here. Then he goes into darkness. But then by the time he hits this spot over here,
Oh, that's nice dynamic lighting.
let's try to have a light. Lighting is easy. I think the only reason why CG lighting was hard before is because you had to freaking render it. Rendering is the worst nightmare on the planet.
Yeah, I was just thinking earlier when you were playing the sequence in Premiere, how like all this before Unreal, you just be looking at it like grayscale,
Yeah.
and you just don't really like without lighting, you don't really know what it looks like, and then because we're small and we're not like a big visual effects studio, if we were using traditional pipeline, we would have very few opportunities. Like we would manage to see the sequence 1 or 2 times fully lit.
Those normal maps look really odd.
I think the reverse. I would just open up the body material, the professor body.
Yeah, I just did.
Oh, I see, it's on the other screen.
Does that look correct?
Well, what did you set it to?
Well, it was negative 0.08 before.
So try it at like 2, positive 2. There you are. That right now, yeah, that's over cranked probably.
2, right?
Yeah, 1 to 2.
But 1, you don't even see it.
So 1 probably shuts it off.
It plays so choppy.
Yeah, it looks like he just shoots forward.
No, but I mean, it's not even just on the stream. Even like when I'm playing it, it's just so sloppy.
It's because the Olympic
Not sloppy, choppy.
the Olympic file is huge, right?
Yeah, but it's the stream. So that's good. I'll probably try to put another point light.
The professor is supposed to have like more piercing blue eyes. Mayo just has like solid black eyes. Cot has like dark brown eyes, and Professor has piercing blue eyes. I'm just
So-
telling you so you can imagine it.
Let's adjust the attenuation radius so that it affects him as he gets to that spot only.
That's cool.
Oh my god, it's so slow. Okay, he turns around. They're right there. So let's adjust this. Key the transform. Let's look at our focus. So we key that. So what I'm probably gonna do, since this is gonna just die if I don't do this, I'm just gonna set this to a lower render quality.
Oh, it's already like performing better.
The other thing I'm gonna check is my post-process volume. I'm gonna go to my lumen settings for now. And I'm just going to reset these to lower settings. Still choppy, but okay, so let's move forward. So right now I know that I'm gonna have, let me pull this up. I'm gonna have cot over here and mayo over here. So kind of compensating for that. Mayo's actually shorter. Cot would probably be taller, but I know that they're gonna go there, so. So I gotta check that. I also have to figure out what's going on with the eyes. But anyway, we're out of time for this week, so let's see.
Yep, we're at 2.
We're at 2, so we'll continue. Next week, you'll probably see updates on this whole scene because this is going to be my task for the week. So, all right, guys. Thank you, everybody, for coming in.
Yes, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys again next week.
Do I use subframes for my alembic? I don't even know what subframes are for alembics, so I'm not sure. I just use the default settings. The only thing I turn on is UV right, face sets, and strip namespaces. All right, guys. Thanks so much. Peace, Ruben. Netbug. Sadan. I'm glad you come here. You should actually be a guest on the show. You could talk about how you designed the moth because everybody would love to see that. So, by the way, did you speak to the people that I sent to you? Did they write to you? So I sent you possibly some freelance work. Hopefully they give you some work. Thank you, Johnny Boy. Byron, thank you. Netbug. Okay, I'll ask him and see.
Bye, everyone.
But yeah, all right, guys. Everybody, thank you so much. And we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.